So just as a reminder, as with the last couple of weeks for ICD-10, we're focusing more on making sure that we know how to find codes. And then next week, when we jump into using CPT codes and ICD-10s, that's when we'll kind of start to work on process of elimination. Okay. So that way everybody doesn't jump directly to process of elimination tonight. We're actually focusing on the alphabetic index because I've noticed that that's what a lot of people have said is I don't know how to use my index to look up an ICD-10 code. So that's what we want to, that I think that's what is best. Like, obviously we have multiple choices that are here, but we're going to try to find it with the index before we go straight to the code. Okay. So question number one, we have an 18-day-old infant that developed bradycardia. What's our condition or the main term?
Bradycardia.
Yep, bradycardia.
And I think it's neonatal, P29.12.
Yep. Yep. So because we have an 18-day-old infant, then it's going to be
neonatal means
neonatal.
And neonatal means infant.
Neonatal just means anything that is 28 days or less. So if you see neonatal, newborn, something along those lines, then that just means we need to focus 28 days or less. So since we have our 18-day-old infant, then it's going to be our P29.12 for neonatal bradycardia. Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay. Number two, we have an X-ray is performed for pain in the left little finger, and this is the initial encounter for this visit. The X-ray report shows a fractured distal phalanx that is dislocated. What's our condition or main term?
Fractured distal phalanx.
Okay. Yep. So we're going to do fracture. Yep. And then we've got three different types of fractures. We have non-traumatic, pathologic, and traumatic. So which one are we going to consider this one to be?
Traumatic?
Yep. Yep. So pathologic is going to be a fracture that's due to a disease or like neoplasm or something along those lines. And then in order for it to be a non-traumatic, they have to tell us that. Okay. So we'll do fracture. And then where do we want to go underneath fracture?
Finger?
Finger. Yep. And then under that, where should we go? Underneath finger, we can go to distal phalanx.
Distal phalanx.
Yep.
So
And then
that's under little that's under finger, little distal phalanx, right?
Single. Yep. Yep. Or you could just go to distal phalanx if you see that those are the same codes. Yep. In this instance, you can go to either one. Because if you go finger distal phalanx, it's S62.63. If you go finger little distal phalanx, it's S62.63. And then whenever we go back to the back to further expand it, that's where we're going to get our laterality. And then included in that laterality is going to be our finger as well. So S62.63. And then we've got the left little, which is what sixth character?
A.
Well, no, the sixth character, not the seventh.
7.
So, yep, 7. Yep. And then we need letter A, right? So we need to go back to, because since our S62.63 does not have the options for our seventh characters, we have to go all the way back to the beginning of our S62 category. And then we have 2 options for initial, right? Because it says initial encounter, which we know that initial encounter for our seventh character does not mean first visit. It means active treatment, right? So you can have an initial encounter 3 and 4 visits in if they're still having active treatment. So we have S62.637 and then A, right? Because we have 2 options. We have closed and open. So if we do not have an indication as to whether it's open or closed, we should default to closed, right? So now the main question is, we have 2 options with S62.637. The fracture for the distal phalanx, are we supposed to code the dislocation as well? Or are we going to stop at just coding the fracture? Just the fracture. Yep. And if you don't know, you can go to dislocation. And then underneath, you would say with fracture, because that dislocation is present with the fracture, and it would tell us to see fracture. So that's telling us that we are going to code the fracture only. Does that make sense? So you might have an option on the exam that's going to test you. Do we code both or just one? So knowing that is so using your index is going to tell you for sure whether or not we code both. Okay. Any questions on that one? All right. Number 3, we have a patient is seen for an initial replacement of a leaking dialysis catheter. What's our main term for this one? This one's a little tricky. Any guesses on what our main term is going to be?
Catheter? Wouldn't it be complication?
It's a complication. Yep. Because the dialysis catheter is present, right? But we're not coding for the presence of the dialysis catheter. It is leaking, so therefore it is a complication of that dialysis catheter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I know this one's tricky. I always go over this one because this one it's possible that you might see something like this. And instead of just coding for the presence of that dialysis catheter, we're going to code the complication of it because that's what they're being treated for.
So if you went to dialysis, it wouldn't give you anything per se then, Tiffany?
I don't believe it does, but let's look. Let's just see what's there. Okay. And then that way, like I said, I don't think it does, but that does not mean that my brain is remembering things correctly. So if we go to dialysis. Nope. No, there's non-compliance of dialysis status for renal dialysis, and then retinal. Yep.
Got it.
So, yep, we would just need to code the complication.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll go main term complication. And then what is the complication of?
Catheter.
Yep. Yep. So we'll go complication and then catheter. And then what type of catheter do we have?
Dialysis.
Okay. And then underneath dialysis, what is the complication going to be?
Leakage.
Okay. So we would have to go to another option before we get to leakage.
Oh,
So
mechanical.
underneath, yep, mechanical and then leakage. Okay. And then what does that give us that we need to go verify and expand in the tabular?
T82.43.
Yep. So again, from a testing perspective, we already know what we're doing, right? But let's just go back there and make sure that we're just kind of following everything through.
So, sorry, I got distracted. What is it that we just said for the index?
We went complication and then catheter down to dialysis and then mechanical leakage. And that brought us to T82.43. Okay. And then once we get back to T82.43, we know we need a seventh character, right? So that's where our X comes into place or comes into play for the placeholder. And then we have to go back to the beginning of T82 category to find our seventh character. Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay. Number 4, we have a patient has an open displaced sunburst fracture of the second cervical vertebrae. This is her 5th visit and the fracture is healing normally. So what is our condition or main term we're going to look up? Fracture? Sure.
Fracture and vertebra.
Okay. Yep. So fracture and then vertebra. And then which vertebrae is fractured?
Second, it's the second, and it goes C fracture, neck, cervical vertebra.
Yep. So
Yep,
we're
so
going to
it's
go to fracture and then neck, right? So it's sending us somewhere else. So we have to go fracture and then neck and then cervical second. And then are we going to stop there or should we choose an option underneath in the indentation?
I want to say go down to second, but I see it's not an option.
Well, underneath, so did you go fracture, neck, cervical vertebrae, and then second? Is that where you are?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you said underneath second, you don't see an option for what?
in the answers, I don't see the option for an S12. It's only
Okay.
like S12, 9, S12,
Yeah.
19.
So if you
Where-
look at your indentations underneath second, we have non-displaced, we have DENS, and we have specified. So if they're telling us that it's a sunburst fracture, that's a specified type of fracture, right? So that's a specified NEC because there's not an entry for sunburst fracture.
Hello.
Does that make sense?
Now it does, yes, ma'am.
Yep. Okay. So that gives us the S12.190. So we've got these two options, right?
So where's S12-190 again? Oh wait, I found it. I found it. Never mind.
Underneath specified NEC. Yep. So then let's go back and figure out which one we need. So S12.190.
D for routine healing.
Yep. So we are doing letter C for the D for the routine healing. Any questions on that? Okay. Number 5, we have a patient is admitted to surgery to treat an open fracture to the shaft of the right humerus and then a simple closed fracture of the left tibia following a side-by-side ATV accident. So what's our main term? What's our condition for this one?
Fracture.
Okay. So we have 2 separate fractures, right? Which one do we want to code first?
The open display.
The open fracture?
Okay. Yep. The open fracture. Yep. Of the shaft of the right humerus. Perfect. So we'll do fracture, and then our anatomic location is the humerus. Underneath humerus, where do you think we'll go for the next indentation?
Shaft.
Yep, the shaft. Perfect. And then do we have any additional information that we want to go into our indentations, or do we want to stop at shaft?
Stop at shaft.
Yep, we're going to stop at shaft. Okay. So what code does that give us that we're going to go further expand?
S42.30.
Yep. S42.30. Okay. And then our 6th character is going to be our laterality, which is the right. So we're going to use the right arm.
So 1.
And then, yep. So the point or the 3.301. And then we have to go find our 7th character for the open fracture. Our seventh character for our open fracture. B. Yep. S42.301B. Okay. So let's go find our simple closed fracture of the left tibia. Let's go back to fracture. I'm over here telling you guys to go to fracture, and my brain is all crazy after all of that, and I just went to tibia instead of fracture. So we'll do fracture and then tibia.
That's where I was at. Fracture and tibia.
Yep, fracture and then tibia. I was going main term tibia and then trying to figure out why I couldn't find it because I wasn't even where I needed to be. I'm all flustered now. So fracture, tibia, and then it's not giving us an option, or not necessarily an option, but it's not really giving us further detail about where it was on the tibia, right? Just that it was left. So we'll just stop at our default code, and that gives us the S82.20, right? We'll do S82.20.
Okay.
And then it's on the left. So it's going to be 202. And then what's our seventh character for closed?
A.
A. Yep. Yep. So we have to go all the way back to our S82 category, and you've got like 15 or 16 there. Some are for initial, for open versus closed versus the different type, all of that. Okay, now the fun part can be finding our external cause. Okay, so let's go to our external cause index. Underneath external cause, what is our main term that we want to use?
Accident.
Yep, it's an accident. And then this is a transport accident because our ATV is a transport vehicle. We'll go to all terrain vehicle occupant.
Where do I find that?
Which one?
All terrain vehicle occupant. Where do I find that in the index?
It's on page
X?
424. It's in the first column, about 2/3 of the way down. Okay.
All
Did you
terrain.
see?
I'm looking.
Yep. All terrain. It's about 2/3 of the way down on the first column, page 424.
I'm looking for it. I
Sorry,
can't
or
seem
do you
to.
have the 2024 ICD-10?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have 2025. So let me pull out 2024 and get you a page number.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Yeah.
I have the 2024, and I still think it is the page 424.
Yeah, it is. It is actually still the exact same page. Yep.
All terrain. Well, where do I find it? I'm looking.
It's about 2/3 of the way down in your first column.
I'm looking for
So
all.
all terrain is going to be in between the two yellow lines.
I don't know if there is a yellow line.
Do you have the AAPC version of the book?
No, I have the
Oh,
Optum.
Oh, then I do not have a page number for you, unfortunately. I
Hang on,
do
I'm looking.
not have it. So your external cause index, not the regular index, going to
Yeah,
be
I'm
after your table of drugs and chemicals.
I'm on the external causes index.
Okay. So then you'll go main term accident,
Yep, that's where I am.
and then transport
Yep.
is the first indentation. And then it'll be all terrain vehicle occupant. Does anybody have the Optum ICD-10 that can help him with a page?
Oh yeah,
I
I
don't know if
found it.
any.
All terrain. I have found it. All terrain vehicle occupant. I
Okay.
found it.
All right. And then underneath that, we're going to go to specified type NEC
Yep, I found
because
it.
they're telling us side by side. So that's a specific type of an ATV. And then we don't know whether they were a passenger, a driver, or on the outside. So we're just going to go with our default all-terrain specified type, and that's our V86.99. You guys see that? Okay. Let's go to the V86.99. Make sure that it matches. And it does. So it's an unspecified occupant of other special all-terrain or other off-road motor vehicle injured in non-traffic accident. We have to go back to the front or to the top of the V86. And that's going to give us our 7th character. So from a testing perspective, we really just needed to look at 2, right? But just getting comfortable with our index. Any questions on that one? Okay. Number 6, the patient has a mass on his forehead. He says that it is from a piece of sheet metal from a laceration to his forehead months ago. He has an X-ray showing a foreign body showing that a foreign body is in the mass. After obtaining consent, the metal fragment foreign body is removed from the subcutaneous tissue. So what are we going to code here?
Removal of the foreign body.
Okay. Yep. We'll do foreign body. So the presence of that foreign body.
So what is it? Sorry, I got distracted.
Foreign body.
So we're like just go. Is it in the diseases index?
It's in the regular alphabetic index.
Yeah, foreign body. And what is it? Forehead.
Well, no, we haven't gotten there yet. So we're going foreign body. And then in here, we are doing so where is the foreign body located? It's in the forehead, which is a soft tissue, right? So we'll go foreign body in soft tissue.
So it's in soft tissue.
Yes.
So I don't see a soft tissue. So like
You have to go to
eh,
in So the first indentation is the word in, and then soft tissue.
So sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry. In, so is it in?
So foreign body is our main term. The first indentation is the word in, like it's in something, right? And then underneath in,
Yep,
we'll
I
go
found it.
to soft tissue.
I found it. M79.5.
Okay.
So
Let's
I
go
know what
look
the
at the
answer.
M79.5. So that's our residual body within the soft tissue, right? So we don't have yet, our codes are not telling us what that foreign body is. We're just seeing that a foreign body is present in soft tissue from a coding standpoint. Okay. So now we need to figure out what code is going to represent the actual foreign body. Okay. So we will go back to, actually, no, we will go to retained, the main term retained. So it's a foreign body that is retained within the soft tissue. Because remember, our M79.5 is just saying that there's a presence of, so now we have to identify what that foreign body is. So retained foreign body fragments. And then what is that piece of foreign body? Jeannie, did you say something?
Yeah, I said metal.
Metal. Okay, yeah. Sorry, it kind of broke out for a second. So I wanted to make sure that you were saying metal and you weren't saying something else.
No worries.
So it is that sheet metal. So we'll do
So
retained foreign body fragments and then metal. And that gives us what code?
Z18.10.
Okay.
So I know what the answer is. It's C.
Okay. So Z18.10 is our retained metal fragment. So that's our right code. Highlighter's acting up now. So the Z18.10 is the actual what that foreign object is, right? And then without looking at our S code, what do we think we're going to look up given the information that we know? Are we going to use for the other injury code? Any guesses? How did the foreign body get there? What injury occurred?
Laceration.
Yep, it's a laceration. Yep. So from the previous laceration. Perfect. Okay. So we'll do laceration. And then where did the laceration happen?
The head.
Head.
Was it the head or the forehead?
Forehead.
Head.
Yep. So we'll do laceration, forehead, and then with foreign body. And that gives us what code? Laceration, forehead with foreign body gives us the S01.82. So why are we using 7th character S? Any guesses on why we're using the 7th character?
Is it because it was months ago?
Yes. So you're basically your definition of a sequela is something that is the result after a condition has healed, right? So the condition that has healed was that laceration to the forehead months ago. And then it's healed and it's retaining that piece of sheet metal. So that's our sequela. Does that make sense? So it's not going to be an A because we're not treating the laceration. It's not an active treatment of the laceration. The laceration was already addressed, treated, healed, and it's resolved. But the sequela is the fact that that foreign body is still retained. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay. Number 7, we have a 4-year-old that's brought into the emergency department crying. He cannot bend his left arm after his older sister pulled it. The provider performs an x-ray and shows that the patient has a nursemaid's elbow. The ED provider reduces the elbow successfully, and then the patient can move his right arm after the reduction.
Fun fact, this actually happened to my daughter.
Oh, I hate that. But it's so common. Like it
Yes.
really is. It is so common. It's crazy.
And they
Yeah.
told me once it happens, it will happen multiple times after that. And
Yep, because
has.
it weakens that ligament so that it doesn't hold it in place. Yep. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, you don't have to deal with it. But yeah,
Yes.
like you said, you're kind of at least prepared so that if it happens again, you know what to do. Okay. So what is our main term?
Dislocation and
Okay.
sprain.
Okay. So dislocation, let's see if it's under there.
Oh, could we do nursemaid? No,
You can do nursemaids.
I was
Yep.
thinking.
I know for a fact you can do nursemaids. I just
Okay.
don't know if you can do dislocation and then nursemaids. Yeah.
Right.
It looks like you have to go to nursemaid elbow.
I was thinking,
Yep.
yeah.
Sometimes underneath dislocation, they might have a nursemaids option. So I always like to double check and make sure before I tell you no. So yeah, in that instance, there is not an option for the dislocation nursemaids. So you'll have to go directly to nursemaids. Okay. So we have S53.03. Does everybody see that underneath nursemaids?
So do I just look at, sorry, I got distracted. I keep getting distracted. So look on index, go to nursemaids.
Mm-hmm. And then S53.03, our 6th character is going to be for our laterality. And this one is left. So we're going to use 0.32. And then what's our 7th character? A? Yep.
A.
A. Yep. S52.032. Okay. So now we've got to go do our external cause. So from an external cause index standpoint, what's our main term?
Is it reduction?
No, because the reduction is going to be the treat. So it's going to be our CPT code.
Okay.
How did the dislocation happen?
Pulling.
Pulling. Yep. His older sister pulled it. So it's going to be pulling. And then it's an excessive pulling, right? Because just normally pulling, shouldn't.
Okay. So yeah, where are we next? I know S5 3.032A. So then go to
In the external cause index, we're going to go to pulling. And then it is an excessive pulling because that's what caused that dislocation. So that gives us X 50.9. And then we've got to figure out our seventh character because there's no other additional characters. And then it's going to be the initial encounter because, again, it's that active treatment. And that's going to be our letter A. Okay. Any questions?
I do have a question. So the
Okay.
pulling would be, and you said the external cause?
Yes. Yep. It's going to be the external cause because that's going to tell us how the injury happened. The pull is not the injury itself, right? That's kind of telling us the story about how the injury occurred. Okay. Any other questions? I know external causes are kind of the most difficult thing just because the index for your external causes is detailed yet vague all at the same time. Okay. So that's really all we've got time to go over today. There are 3 more questions that are here. That if you guys want to try them in the Google Drive, then they are there.
Sure.
So you've got a burn, you've got a delivery, and then you've got medication overdose.
I hope I wasn't the reason we didn't get to do those.
No, it was just tonight was just the night. And tonight we talked a lot more about some of the scenarios, so it's totally fun. But yeah, those are there if you guys want to try them. And then don't forget all the way down at the bottom, you've got your answer keys and your rationale. So if you struggle with them, there are, especially this burn one, then you've got really good descriptions and rationales that you can go through. Okay. And work on those.
Hey,
All I do is
Tiffany?
one.
Hey, Tiffany, can I ask you a quick question about the CVUs or RVUs? I mean,
Yeah.
So on the CMS website, on the spreadsheet, I noticed there's 3 columns listing RVUs. One is work RVU, one is non-facility PE RVU, and one is facility PE RVU. Which one do you use?
You want to use the non-facility total.
Okay, cool.
So
Thank you.
so remember your RVUs. I know it's probably been a hot minute since you've looked at RVUs because it was in chapter 6 of AAPC. So your RVUs are going to be, your total RVU is going to be made up of your work expense, the practice expense, and then your malpractice insurance. So all 3 of those are going to add up into your total RVU.
Okay.
And your total RVU is what you want to use when you're going into sequencing. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question.
Yeah.
Tiffany, I'm new here, so I want a class about HickPicks. So, are you planning any near date for HickPicks?
I don't have a specific class on HickPicks, but we do have in like scattered throughout the CPT section, the different sections that we have for CPT, we do have some HickPicks questions that are scattered through there. But I do not do one that is specific for HickPicks.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then Kristen, I see your question in the chat. No, you can. So anybody that wants to participate in the study group, there is a Google Drive, and I'm going to put the link in the chat here real quick, if I can. The link. So anybody that needs access to that Google Drive where all of the questions are posted, then it is there. I am probably not going to post this recording because of what happened. So there will not be a recording link for this week. And because I don't know that I can edit all of that out, type thing. So there probably will not be a recording of tonight that's available. But you can, there's two, I'm going to switch sharing here real quick. So there's two different tabs on here. So this one is from last year. So if you're wanting to review, these are the same questions that we went over last year. There weren't any changes from 2024 to 2025. So if you need to watch the recording for those same questions, then you can watch the recording from the 2024. But like I said, I'm probably not going to post this recording just because I do not want to put that out in the universe. So again, I do highly apologize for that, and I will make sure that moving forward, then absolutely no screen sharing and no abilities for anyone to do annotations or anything like that moving forward. I'm a little embarrassed that that happened. So I hope that everybody knows that that is not a reflection of me in any way, shape, or form. But just know that we will make sure that we take, all precautions for any of that to be, what's the word I'm trying to think of, for it to basically be prevented in the future. But I appreciate everybody sticking with us through the end. Through that.
Yeah.
But if anybody needs anything over the next week, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here. And then we will pick up next week for integumentary. And all of the questions are out here, and I'll make any updates. I don't think there were any changes for integumentary. So I will go out and double check, but these links will be updated if there is anything that will change for next week. Okay.
Yeah, like I'm just getting back into studying because I took some time off for like 2 months, and I know that sounds pretty bad.
No, trust me. The holidays, I have a
Well, not for
certification
2
that I
months.
should be
It's just
sitting for, and I haven't done anything since November on it.
yeah,
So
just because with
I
work
get
and
it.
with ever since I've started to become more independent at work, it's just taking a
Mhm.
lot of energy from me.
It
But
does.
basically, what I do to study is since I don't have a printer and I can't really participate, I just sit back and I just use the book and follow, and I don't write anything down.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
highlight. I'll watch your videos. I think if I watch through your videos like a few times, and do you think that they'll eventually start to become familiar?
Yeah. Yeah and no. I mean, you'll start to recognize things. So that's where if you can get those additional practice exams, like we had talked about, doing the ones with the letters, not the numbers, then that will hopefully give you a little bit new eyes onto the questions.
Hang on, let me look to see which practice exams I actually have. Hang on, I'm signing in. I'm still here. I'm on my computer right now. I'm logging into AAPC just because my parents paid for this and I don't want to waste their money. I mean, they didn't say anything, but it's just, yeah. I have practice exams 4 through 6, and
Okay.
they expire.
Yeah.
It expires July 31st, and the exam voucher, the exam. I'm trying to find out. Okay, yeah, I've got two. The exam voucher expires July 4th of this year, and I'm a little worried. It's gonna come by quickly.
I mean, just take it one day at a time. Take it 1 week at a time, kind of like we talked about before. See
Maybe,
if you
maybe,
can
maybe see if I.
get the ones that are the letters. And then see if that will kind of help boost your confidence a little bit too, since they're not the most difficult practice exams out
Like
there.
what let's say I just only took those exams and then I took the CPC. Would that be not be wise?
I mean, everybody's going to be different. There are some people that do only do those and then they take the exam and they do perfectly fine. And then there's some people that have to do more. It's just going to depend on, I mean, there's not a magic formula to it.
Yeah, we can talk more next week. It's just I can admit I haven't probably been putting as much effort into studying as I should be,
Sure.
just because with work, just
Sure. No, I get it. I get it completely. But okay, yeah,
yeah.
we will chat next week on it some more. And then, like I said, if you can get those other ones in between now and then and just kind of boost your confidence a little bit.
I mean, I don't know if I'll
And
get them this week, but maybe sometime in the next few weeks.
yeah, yeah, no, that's totally fine.
Thank you.
All right. You're
Good night.
welcome. Have a good night.